Those pesky practical people in our lives say cars like this, they shouldn't exist. Worse, the governments around the world, they're trying to outlaw things like this. No matter what, whether it makes sense practically or not, and it certainly doesn't make sense from a financial perspective for a car company, but it's our time to drive it. .300 horsepower and 273 pounds of torque from a 1.6 three-cylinder direct injected gasoline engine. You and I have covered the bullets and numbers and how this thing came to be and how it drives all four wheels in not one but two tech reviews. You can check those out here. Now we need to fill in some of the gaps. So we didn't get information on the fuel economy, believe it or not, but it's still a Corolla, so we do need to talk about it. 21, 28, 24. And then there's the boost pressure that comes out of that turbo. It's 25.2 PSI. Then there's the performance figures. And here, Toyota, very interesting the way they quote these numbers. Most manufacturers do like 3.5 or 4.0 or 4.5. These guys, very precise. 0 to 60, 4.99 seconds. And VMAX, even more interesting, 142.9. Not 143, 142.9. You and I have waited an incredibly long time for this. A unicorn, something that shouldn't exist, so let's get right to it. 3,285 pounds, or depending on express your weights and measures, 1,490 kilograms. If this was a Core, it'd be 30 pounds lighter. If it was a Maurizio, it would be 100 pounds lighter. With that, three-cylinder direct injected turbo. Okay, yep, wakes up definitely wakes up at 5,000 RPM. You feel the difference. Like if you've never driven a three-cylinder, yeah, okay, there's something going on here, but it's not exactly a slouch. Man, this thing does deliver power beautifully. Now, what you and I need to discuss is the torque. That's the biggest thing we would give up by losing that cylinder. And here, it's actually pretty good the way the thing delivers torque. You only notice the difference in the delivery of torque when you're already at speed and you're trying to do like passing maneuvers or pour on more power coming out of a turn here. Like, for example, I'm gonna hit the apex. Let's get to this one exit here. I go up to third gear. It's not slow, but you notice a difference that the torque delivery isn't as immediate. That's the biggest thing one would notice in a car like this. Other than that, a super fun power plant. You can tell someone has showered a lot of love on this thing. Like, for example, let's come around here, go down to third, down to second, and there you notice the transmission. It's not as magnificent as the engine is. It's good. The throws are like the right length. It's a bit of a high shifter, something you'd expect in this kind of a car, but it's not like buttery smooth. Let's call it like middle of the road kind of transmission. Okay, so let's you and I put aside that propulsion system and focus on what really this car is all about, and that would absolutely be the driving dynamics. Now, we covered a lot of the bits underneath it in the tech review. So McPherson struts in the front, and then multi-link in the rear. Brakes, interesting. There, it's 14 in the front with 4 piston calipers, 11.7 in the back with 2 piston calipers. Does an unusually good job of working, really cashing the checks that the driving dynamics set up really right. Then, of course, there's a differential, and that's really what the car is all about. We've been doing this in track mode all day, and that is 50-50 split. Then there is a 70-30-70 in the back, as well as a 60-40-60 up front. And if you get into it in this track mode, which is how I started this whole day, it's incredibly balanced. Not what I would expect from a Corolla. Like, for example, this borders on a small crossover because of the very high roof. But the combination of some of the detailing I've done to the suspension and then taking weight out of the roof with the carbon fiber in this as well as the Maurizio, you don't feel the height of the vehicle. You feel a car you can toss around very easily, and if I'm really honest, more easily in the 50-50. That's why they're saying this is the track mode. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game, mine, the options game, with today's contestant, a car you and I didn't think would ever exist again, especially with a Toyota badge, a non-practical vehicle. Well, there is some sort of practicality, that is made for freaks. This one, the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. Now, you and I need to focus on two different models. There's the core, the basic model, and this one, the Circuit Edition. So the most basic model, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised on the numbers here. $35,900. I expected the basic model to cost what the base price of this one is, which is $42,900. But what makes the difference? The biggest thing you notice from the outside, the roof. It's a carbon fiber roof, forged. It's a specific pattern to the Circuit Edition. And obviously the point there is to take some weight away from the vehicle that's high in the car. The tires, the wheels, the output of the engine, all of that's the same between the two. One of the big mechanical difference, the Torsen limited slip differential. That's fitted as standard here. It's optional in the core, and there if one specifies a performance package which adds red calipers. The brake calipers on this are painted as red standard. In the performance package in the core, that is part of the whole Torsen limited slip differential. I don't know why they put those two together. $1,180. Then there's the paint. You're looking at this car here. This is heavy metal, ice, metallic, something like that. It's an additional $425. And I'll be honest, there aren't many different color choices depending on the models on offer. Like there's basically 3 color choices on a core, 3 color choices on a Circuit Edition, and 2 color choices on the Marizzo. Putting aside color, there are 2 other option packages that can be fitted to a core. There is a tech package, which is the JBL stereo and the Qi wireless charger, $770. Then there's a cold weather package, heated seats and a heated steering wheel, $500. Yet we do need to get back to this specific car here, which is the Circuit Edition, and then the destination and handling from Toyota's MotoManTV plant. Entschuldigung for that pronunciation, but it is the place where LFAs and Supra A80s were manufactured, and thus we must pay $1,095 for the destination and handling, which brings us to a total retail price for this, $43,570. Okay, as you and I come around here, let's switch to the 70 in the back. And the biggest thing that you notice, it's the steering. It's a bit lighter in the front. You get a little bit more feedback in the steering, obviously because it's not trying to do as much 2 different planes of motion. Coming around here, you can steer the car a little bit more with your, God, this thing, someone spent a lot of time tuning this car. God, it is unusually good. I'm gonna say it again, the balance and composure here far exceeds what your expectations would be going into a Toyota Racing Division rally car. Okay, so let's you and I put all this together as we go around this lovely turn here. There is just wonderful car control here. That's really what this is about in terms of driving dynamics. It works in conjunction with the propulsion system pretty well, the transmission pretty well. Those 2 things, they're good. They're very good. They're not stellar. But when you put it together with a differential that you control, and then a lot of work in the strength of the vehicle and the overall weight of the vehicle. Okay, so what have we learned on our little field trip to Utah? Simply put, this, the best car Toyota makes. Yes, it's a huge function of the guy that has his name on the door. When he shows a lot of love to one project, this is what we get. And then I hate to boil this down to the lowest common denominator, but the numbers. I told you in the options game, 36 grand for the base price on the core. I thought it honestly would be 45, and this one will be over 50, but this one at 43, even with the paint. The only problem that causes is if you are not on a list now, you're kind of screwed, which brings us to the wish list. And here, this is a rolling wish list. So I'm gonna be pedantic. On the core, how about a sunroof? I know most of you will completely disagree, but I'm gonna throw it over the fence to Toyota. And that is just one man's opinion and the point of the episode, where I turn this around to you guys to opine in the comments below or via our social media, MotoManTV on word, MotoManTV on word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, a little bit behind the scenes, while I was shooting this car, as well as the manual transmission Supra, Toyota was very kind to bring the chief engineer of this vehicle all the way over from Japan. Yes, there is going to be an episode with him. However, I've got to forewarn you. You saw it, great car, right? The chief engineer, the man looks like he's 3 years old. I just couldn't help but share that with you. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später.